Hey guys, and welcome to FanCast. We're very grateful to be recording from the historic St Kilda Sports Club, the oldest locker room in the Southern Hemisphere. Join us on the bench where we talk all things footy. We're fans, and this is FanCast. Calm the Dons, calm the Saints.
Calm the Saints.
Suck shit,
Calm the
Tigers.
Hammers.
And the P's and the Poos are down the toilet once again.
No. When we win, it's chips and gravy.
Yeah, but you piss and you poo this week.
Yes, I'll cop that this week.
Excellent. The Hawk has admitted it. Welcome back.
Updated to chips and gravy when we win, when I'm here next.
No promises.
Which will be next season.
Oh, next season. All right. That I can get on board.
Wow.
I can get on board. Welcome, Fancasters, to another episode here on the pod where we have a proper footy chat. Anna,
Hello.
how are we doing?
I'm great.
We're the
I'm
winners.
still kind of on a high.
Yeah, as am I.
Kind of.
I've got the jacket and the
Got the
beanie.
jacket.
I've got it all going today. You got the scarf out.
My voice is coming
Look
back
at them
today,
wrapping
so
it in.
it's good.
Yeah.
That's very good. Swiz.
Yo, Joe. Hey,
Hey, man.
been a while. How are you?
It's been ages.
I know.
How did you feel about the Saints win?
I was shattered, you
Aren't
know
you
what?
pumped?
No.
Oh,
No, I'm good, mate. How are you?
Very good.
Fine.
I'm happy.
Yeah, you're up and
I
about.
can see you're in a different
Mate,
sort of get up this
I'm
week.
supporting the Tassie team, mate. Get around them. Get around Northern Territory number 20 and Tassie 19th. We're all about that, mate.
I thought you had a
Supporting the new-
Richmond. I thought you
I
had.
do. But you got to support. Oh, it's like me having my Gold Coast jumper at home.
Fair enough.
So, getting in early, getting on the ground.
Getting on the ground.
Yeah.
I love it. I
Go
love
the
it.
Apples.
Good to see you again. Devo,
G'day, Joe. How you going, mate?
better than you, maybe.
Yeah, very much likely.
I thought we were pretenders last week, losing to the Cats. What happened?
Did I say that?
Yeah.
I mean, I thought the criticism was correct at the time.
Mhm.
But this week, I'll call off the pretenders tag for this week.
This has been an amazing start so far.
Brilliant.
I am loving
Loving
this.
it.
I'm laughing it up. I'm not sure when the next time is I'm going to get this sort of treatment again. But
You beat Collingwood one time. And
we
I'll
beat
listen to
Collingwood.
them.
Hey, this is the first time in a long time where we've played Collingwood twice and haven't lost to them in a season. So Essendon fans definitely have reason to finally be happy because when Collingwood lose, Australia wins. So you can all thank us.
That's true.
I disagree with that.
No, I
you
like
don't
it.
disagree with that?
I kind of like Collingwood. Don't
Yeah.
hate me.
So they've
Don't
got,
hate me.
and it's got black and white in a scarf.
Yeah, we actually
Well,
all
yeah,
like
that's not
Collingwood, so we
why.
all disagree with you there.
I just like watching them play. They play a really fun brand of football.
Mm.
They used to be a clinch team. You
Yeah.
know? I think this year kind of problematic because they've got a lot of injury.
Yes.
They lost Murphy. I think that's been a big downer. And in my opinion, they suffer quite a bit without Jamie Elliott
Yes.
in the last few minutes of the game.
Oh, absolutely.
So
We'll be back this week, apparently, Jamie Elliott.
really,
So
they need.
I think
him.
he's listed as a test. So that would be a massive in for Collingwood because when they've just got Bobby Hill by himself, as soon as you put one really good defender like Jake Kelly on him, or and the attention, where it's going, becomes less, exciting as a team. You know what I mean? And they leave too much too late. It's the classic Collingwood of old, but it hasn't got up for them against the Bombers. They managed to sneak over the line against North Melbourne, but you can't forget they were down by 50 points against North. No disrespect to North, who again had a very gutsy win on the weekend, but
Woo!
you can clearly see, woo!
Yeah,
Yeah,
get around
no.
it.
But you can see that the Pies just aren't the same this year as they were last year.
What?
Big number one for Richmond.
Yes.
Oh, so now we're happy to
No, I
talk
was
about Richmond.
happy. You knew I was happy. Mate, you get the three flags, you can live with a wooden spoon.
That's true.
Because
This side's undefeated this year.
Right,
I
the
mean, how
Tassie
great
Tigers,
is
we're
it?
all over it.
You're going to get all the draft picks.
That's right.
So that's
as
what
long
you're
as we
after,
do the right
right?
thing by trading.
Yep.
I've had a few arguments with Richmond supporters about this, but there's players that we need to clean out, and I think if you can get maximum value for them, then you've got to take that up.
Dusty. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
I love that.
I think Dusty just probably more retires, but yeah, Rioli, Baker, even Shea Bolton, if the offer was right, Jack Graham, Noah Bolter, That's a bit controversial. Saw a couple of fans saying he's not worth maybe the pick, what potential could come as a forward. But this guy is one of the better defenders in the league. I did hear some commentary around the fact that if he's a great defender, why isn't he playing down there? But I know obviously Richmond have young Gibcus who's out injured, but young Miller, they've picked up Blight in the mid-season. He looks really good. So they've actually got plenty of defensive options. What Richmond don't have is as a forward line, relying on Cozzy that you gave us. And so somebody had to go down there. But in that sort of age bracket, like North is the obvious one, desperate for a key defender. Are they past the stage where they don't need to use draft picks anymore and actually start looking at getting a couple mature age players?
Are they desperate for a key defender though?
Well, they've only got Comben. Comben needs assistance. Like Comben's great, but he needs assistance there. All good teams have two defenders. You guys, obviously, you've got Rids. Mackay's come in there to help you guys out. Yep. Wilkie's doing a fantastic job.
Battle.
All those guys battle. That hopefully you guys are trying to pick up.
Go battle, go.
Obviously Sicily, probably the Hawks. That's why you're after battle because you need that extra one.
Blank.
The
CJ.
So many of the good teams have.
Frost has had a great year. I feel like he's flown under the radar because of his reputation, but I can't. Besides the Gold Coast game, he's put in a really good season. So shout out to Sam Frost. Obviously in contract year, so he's certainly looking to up those stats to get another year. But shout out to Big Frosty.
Mm-hmm. So there you go.
Yeah. So defenders around. Yeah, mate, I'm happy as long as you don't let people go for cheap like the Suns have sort of been doing recently. But if the offer's right and we're in that stage where we're trying to rebuild, need to fast track the rebuild before the Tassie team come in.
Yeah,
exactly.
So that's 3 years. If you're down the bottom, and I know we'll obviously talk about the Eagles in a moment, but North Melbourne, Hawks are already kind of through that. They're on the way up, and now they're trying to look at those free agents. But the Crows, potentially the Saints, if they're going to do it, they've got to do it now because 3 years' time, we know what happens when a new team comes in.
Well, to me, it seems like between now and Tassie come in, I really don't think we're going to see that many blockbuster trades. I think everyone's going to want to hold on to their picks while they can. They're looking at free agents. We're seeing some of these massive offers because it's actually not going to cost them any assets. So clubs are certainly going to be looking at the free agency. Could really be anyone, and they'll throw 600 at them, 800 at them instead of making the big splash with trades, that sort of thing. Yep. I think we'll still see the trades of this bloke's not getting a game, and he'll come in for a fourth rounder to a different club, that sort of thing. But I think we'll just see that with clubs. Maybe the exception of Geelong because they're pretty keen on Bailey Smith, and that looks like that's going to happen, which might cost them their pick. But other than that, I really don't think we're going to see much blockbuster stuff.
I actually completely agree with you there, Steve. With unless you're in the window, so if you're right in a chance for a premiership, you're going to obviously do it. But I think Gold Coast, because they know they've got so many academy players, picks mean nothing to them.
No.
Until the system changes, and may change this year, next year.
Yeah.
But until it changes, they want the picks out. They try to get established players in.
Yeah.
We know what Dimmer's said about the list, so that makes sense for them to, and that's where Richmond are looking at potentially cashing in there with, say, Rioli. And then I think maybe it's like a North Melbourne or a Hawthorn in that situation. Hawks more likely maybe hold on and just look for the free agency.
Yeah.
But North, their midfield's stacked of young guys.
Yeah.
Potentially, can they get another one in there? Maybe. But at the same time,
surely not.
There's so many young ones, and already there's Shees or McCurch spent time at halfback because you've got LDU. Simpkins not even that old. The Phillips, Powell, all these guys. So what do they need? They actually need another key forward to help Larkey and a key defender to help Comben. So you could see them going, well, is it worthwhile potentially moving that if they can get the right player in?
So Richmond is just the land of opportunities to people.
But
isn't it?
At least I feel like we're ahead of West Coast because West Coast, weren't they 2 years on average age older than you guys when I think it was something like that a couple of weeks ago.
When we just played them?
Yeah.
When teams lost on the weekend, we're talking about the trades.
He wasn't lying about the podcast pre-meeting.
No, that's right.
He's not talking about current. He's talking about free agency.
I told you this,
He's
Joe.
talking about draft.
Could not care less about your
Tell
top
me your
four.
season's over without telling me your season is over.
His mindset's already in October.
Mine was walking into round one this year.
Mate, that is remarkable. No,
It's remarkable for a Richmond supporter
Yeah.
because usually you guys are still thinking you get the flag at this point. So that's
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
I think it would be-
I think it's
Surrender.
worth
Serenity.
raising St Kilda. Not St Kilda. Apologies. We'll get to the Saints, but West Coast, because it is the story of the day. Simmo's been sacked.
yes.
Apparently been asked to coach this weekend. So we'll
Unbelievable.
see how that works out. Rumours is that they're looking at maybe Matty Knights to take over for the end of the
Good
season.
luck, West Coast.
which
You're
is
screwed.
brilliant.
You're screwed. Matthew Knights
I'll just
is
I
a
think I said
no-go.
that
Happy
in
we
the group
get
chat.
to
I didn't
play
think
them
you'd
in
actually
Scotland.
bring it up.
The three obvious options to replace him are the former West Coast players. So Cox,
Yes.
who's the senior assistant at Sydney, Jamie Graham, who I think is at Fremantle
Yep.
at the moment, and Ashley Hansen, who's at Carlton.
Yeah, the senior assistant.
Or Harvey
Carlton.
Reid.
Harley Reid just
Or
steps up.
Harley Reid.
Mate, he's a rising star. He's a superstar. He can do it all. Why not be captain, coach, captain, player, and coach at the same time?
I said earlier he has the same maturity level as Dimma, so he could do it.
Exactly.
Oh, here we go.
Oh,
If Dimmer's a coach, then Harvey Reid can absolutely be a coach.
Speaking of maturity levels.
But Judge, you have a thought at the moment between they're still going to go through the process, but I'd say West Coast will be looking at somebody who's a former player and former West Coast sort of legend in there.
Yeah, they're a bit of a boys' club. aren't
They are. I've heard a few saying front runner probably Graham, but because they think it's going to be hard to get Dean Cox out of
Yeah.
the Sydney lifestyle that he seems to really like at the
no one's
moment.
going for Brett Round.
No one's going for Brett
No.
Rowan.
Your
Going
Rats
for
are so
Brett
unlucky. Like he
Well,
deserves another opportunity.
See, the
No,
thing is,
false.
from what I've heard
False.
with Dean Cox is that apparently there's some sort of takeover job with John Longmire in the works because they both expire in 2025, their contract. So that's sort of, I think I heard this about a year ago or so.
Mm.
So I wonder if that's still on the cards because I remember we saw like Collingwood approached Sam Mitchell, which ramped up Hawthorn's process. I wonder if we'll see a similar thing there where if West Coast approach Dean Cox, can they lure him from Sydney back to West Coast, or or they're just going to have to go to Graham or Hansen?
Look, big bucks can convince anybody. Like in any, if you're going to pay enough and give them certain things, whoever the Eagles want, they're a big, powerful team. They'll be able to get whoever they want. I'm pretty confident about that. So, and to be honest, the Eagles have won a flag not too long ago. So
Yeah,
I'm not feeling bad for them whatsoever. They've got Harvey Reid. They've got a loyal supporter base. They're one of the biggest clubs in the land. I honestly don't feel a modicum of concern for them at this point in time. They're going to have to go through this process. A lot of clubs go through a similar process in relation to the coaches. And he's won a flag. Some coaches haven't and will never will. So
The list going forward for West Coast will be interesting because obviously Simmo's been willing to back in those premiership stars. You've got your Gaff Sheed, who obviously kicked that winning goal.
Yeah.
Barras, McGovern, even Darling's getting on a little bit and stuff. So they've actually got a lot of senior players.
At the same time, though, I feel like West Coast have replenished the list pretty well over the past, well, certainly in the last off season. They're starting to play a lot of the younger blokes, but you still need those senior blokes there to help carry. And a lot of the senior blokes are still playing some decent footy. We won't include Gaff and Sheed in those conversations, but Elliot Yeo's playing his best footy in a long time. McGovern's having a great year. He looks as fit as he's ever been. Hopefully he recovers well from his 1 week injury there.
But the problem is there, Steve, here's a team that's won, 3 games for the year who have senior players potentially playing, career seasons.
Yeah, and that's probably what's concerning more because at least in 2022 they had sorry, not 2022, 2023, when round 2, they were playing blokes, they were playing carpenters in the side against North Melbourne.
Yep.
And but now it's been a pretty good injury list for West Coast. And I think that we saw a bit of momentum at the start of the year, but I think they're just starting to fall off again. And it does seem like there's been there was a fair bit of tension with Simpson and the playing group. And I'm not sure what the texts were about. Texts between outsiders of West Coast and about Adam Simpson. So, I think the time was up. I felt like the time was up with Simpson a while ago, but he's been a massive success.
his time is up. But our time is now.
Yeah.
Our time is now.
The guy's actually an absolute legend when you think about it. 300 games for North, premiership player, dual premiership player there, I think. And then also obviously now a premiership coach over at West Coast.
Got the
That's
absolute
actually
best out of himself.
Absolute serious superstar of the game.
So congratulations to Simmo for an absolutely wonderful
Yes,
career.
well done.
Well done. I know it hasn't gone out in the terms that you might have liked. It's very rare for a coach to go
every
out
coach
on
is
their
like
own
that. Your
terms.
first day of coaching is a step closer to your getting
Yes,
fired. Because
correct.
which coach gets to put their hand up and say,
Exactly.
outside like Dimmer leaving us last year, very rarely you see a coach go out on their own terms.
I'm
Let's
glad.
see what happens with Hinkley.
Yeah, exactly.
Now he's the next one that puts the pressure on. It's him
Yeah.
and Nick's surely have the pressure on those two.
Yeah.
Because now that always seems one coach goes, now that market opens up. While there's no coaches there, everyone's like, oh, the next gun assistant is still available.
Yes.
But now that one coach, then do the South Australian clubs start getting itchy fingers? Now Port played really well on the weekend, which says Hinkley, continues
just
to
because
survive.
you played good for 1 week doesn't mean
We've
Kent's
got
going to
them next
survive.
week.
But
You've got the Saints have got
they're
Port next
still
week. That'll
very
be
much
huge.
in the premiership race because they can still make finals. Port Adelaide, but Adelaide's a different story because obviously they aren't going to make it. And Nick's has been there
5 years, I
5
believe.
years.
So at what point now did the South Australian media start ramping that, and just the media in general, because all the attention's been on Simmo, and now how much does it come for Nick's?
Yeah, I think it'll start. I think you guys were spot on there where I think the wheels will start falling in motion with certain coaches. We'll see with Hinkley whether the takeover with Josh Card, that, maybe an extra year in advance, it comes forward.
Yep.
And Josh Carr's the coach next year. It did. I'm pretty sure Adelaide did say Matthew Nicks will be the coach next year, but I don't know. I think I've said this before in the podcast. I don't really know any other sporting industries that hold on a senior coach for this long.
Yeah.
It's just not a ruthless sort of position with AFL coaches.
It's ruthless.
It is if you're Brett Radden, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's just,
That's all right. He needed to go.
Yeah, he needed to go.
Yeah.
Sometimes
He needed to go.
sometimes you have to make some big calls.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to recruit the right people. And I think as a St Kilda fan, you would feel that Ross Lyon is the right person at the helm.
A lot of people would disagree with you, but I am not one of those people.
That's why you're here.
Yeah,
I
that's
like
why
your
I'm here.
opinions.
Yeah, I do think our win over the weekend poses a question for me,
Right.
or puts Ross in a bind, because I think what we're coming to see is that either he's going to have to change up something about his coaching scheme, or Max King is going to need to be used differently, because I don't think he's serving his purpose as it is. I think we play very well when we have more options in the forward line.
Yep.
So I do think it's going to be an interesting. I know we re-signed him. I think he's a lovely guy, but I think we have to think about using him differently.
Yep.
Because it's not.
does he
working.
have
Yeah, I agree.
potentially the aerobic capacity to go
I reckon
fit,
he's
get
at his
fit?
best when you're moving up the ground. The reason they're keeping him deep forward is because they don't have that ideal second target. So that's why they're using King more deeper as the forward, and they're using Sharman further up the ground, Caminiti further up the ground. They can get that second star forward, and then you can keep King moving around the ground. I think that's when he's at his best.
as a decoy.
Yeah, just as a centre-half forward.
I'm thinking Harry
just
Mackay.
Deep
Yeah,
forward.
yeah, I
Just
wouldn't
don't
say
that's
decoy.
Sounds like,
Decoy.
throw him down there and see what happens.
But the obvious,
I just don't think he's a deep forward.
Harry
No,
Mackay,
I
Jess
think-
Cameron get up the field. Like the old days of like Matthew Richardson when he went and played up close to the wing and stuff like that.
he's better suited than that than
Yeah.
a deep forward.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that for many years he was used in that capacity, and he's got to kind of relearn how to play football a different way.
And
So that's
I
what
think
he's
most of
doing.
the year as well. Like I think King has been disappointing this year, but one, I don't think he's being utilised correctly.
That's
Correct.
my
And
point.
and number two, I think ever since the Giants game, he's been dealing with a knee injury. Then he re-injured it. I don't remember if it was was it the same knee?
It's a different knee now.
Oh, the different knee, yeah. So I think he has been playing injured for a fair chunk of the season.
Yeah.
So if they can just get him fit and firing for 2025, then that'd be the dream for St Kilda.
Look, you just need a bit of luck, honestly. Like him.
We don't get that though. That's not St Kilda.
Yeah, but you can't be unlucky forever.
Yes,
No,
you can.
no, you can.
You can. I think
You
it's
can.
obvious
No,
you can.
you can't be unlucky forever because
We are.
if you're unlucky forever, then that's no longer luck. If you're unlucky forever, it just means that things maybe might be
Did you see
rigged
that
against
Rowan
you
Marshall
or-
bounce?
The football.
Oh, no.
Football.
That
is
sums up St
thrown-
Kilda's 120 years in this competition. That bounce that nearly
That
cost. Like I was like, oh, they're going
the
to lose
curse.
here. Like actually, the fact you guys held on was a miracle
And that
because
goes to show that you're not unlucky.
Okay.
That even with the bad bounces,
yeah,
it just comes with you have to be able to roll with it. It's
Right.
not, to quote Rocky, it's not about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit. We learned that the hard way against Geelong.
Yeah.
We got hit between the eyes with some shocking umpiring decision and we fell over. Last week against Collingwood, we were hit in the first quarter, but we learnt from it. You got up and you keep going.
Yep.
You guys could have obviously lost that game. You were down by 20
We
points
could've.
against the Swans, but you didn't give up.
We
You rolled
didn't.
with the punches, and I feel like you make your own luck sometimes.
Maybe I think we're always having to work that little extra bit harder, it feels. And I don't know why. I still think it's a curse. I still think someone did weird shit back in the day and we're still suffering from it. And when I figure out what it is, I'm gonna undo it, I swear.
It's when you don't play that slow, boring, super
It was
methodical.
one of the Saints' best wins in years. I
Correct.
reckon. It was a
Yeah,
fantastic win
And it
for
was
that
speed.
club.
Amazing.
It was speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what
Philippo
I
in the
mean?
midfield.
Oh,
Bang.
Oh,
bang.
God,
How
that was
good.
so nice to see.
Yep. Look what happens when you play Philippo in his actual position.
Yeah.
There you go. If you can just keep him in there. I mean, you're not going to make, unfortunately, with this, you're probably still not going to make finals. But what you can do is
You
just,
never know.
sorry to burst your bubble on such a
That's
great
all right.
weekend for St Kilda fans.
I don't think any of us are expecting to make finals.
Yeah.
I think we gave that dream
Even
up.
Ross himself
Yeah.
said
Weeks
after the
ago.
game.
But
yeah.
the thing is, after such a great win, it's now how you back up the week after.
Yep.
Like it's
Yeah.
all well and good having
that'll
an
be
awesome win,
interesting.
but if they sit there and come out and they're too busy, not thinking it's just going to happen, it means nothing. But you guys back it up, and even not necessarily get the win, but as long as you're right in that game, then it's like, okay, here you've got something to build on, and actually the fans give them
Yeah.
hope
Because
going
if you
into
don't
next year.
build on it, it'd be almost
Fine.
like fraud, like the fraud Coast Suns.
Of course.
You know?
It's
Leave
the
the-
Adelaide
leave the
Crows,
Suns
though. We
alone.
don't play. We're not leaving the Suns alone because they don't deserve that. They deserve to be picked on.
They do. Absolutely.
do.
Unfortunately, there's no
We can
fans
move
to
on
pick
to-
on.
What?
Sorry, we can
Is there
pick
fan-
on
worn my
Dimmer.
We
Sun-
can just pick
should have
on
worn my
Dimmer.
Suns jumper.
How
Yeah.
many teams do you go for, mate?
Did Dimmer look a little bit like, when a kid opens his toys and there's no batteries in there?
Yeah. Nah, he looked
Batteries not
angry.
included, Dimmer.
Nah, he looked even more angry than that.
Oh, man.
It looked like he got a fake version of the toy that he wanted.
Yeah.
Like he wanted a PlayStation, but he ended up
You
getting
got an avocado
a toy.
for
He got like an
Christmas.
avocado. Yeah. It's just like, what
Yeah.
is this? Need to grow the F up. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Do you think
What's
he's
the
more
putting
mad-
game on The Simpsons?
the what?
What's the putting game on The
The
Simpsons?
putting game with this. Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think he's more mad because he talked a lot of smack and then now he's like, whoops, I'm stupid.
Yeah.
Which is what I said a few weeks ago.
Exactly
Because you
what
can't
said.
just count those chickens.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because they beat the Pies at home in what was a really great win for them. And we sat here on the bench last week thinking, there's no way they get this momentum from this great win from against Collingwood. They come to Victoria to play against North Melbourne, the bottom of the ladder. No disrespect to North Melbourne, but you
No.
just think that with where the Suns are at, with the momentum that had come here, and they bungle it up. And
Yeah.
so it's just like, you are forever now, in my eyes, the Fraud Coast Suns, because
Yeah.
I don't know how you can.
Are they playing at home this week?
They're playing at home this
No, they
week.
win.
Playing at home.
Against
No.
Port.
Guaranteed.
No,
So
against
Ken's
Port,
gone.
though.
Guaranteed.
No.
Guaranteed
I'm
back
off
to
the
start.
Suns. I'm off the Suns.
They
I'm
win
sick
this
of it.
week.
Yeah.
You're off them. I've
No,
been
no,
off them.
guaranteed
I was
they
never
win.
on them.
Nah, just if you can't win one. It's what is it? Round 18. If you can't win one game away from home, you can't even. Surely, are we
But-
still considering
You know
them
what it seems
finals?
No, I'm not, but they're
No.
going to win at home, mate, because they
Yes.
don't lose at home.
Yeah, they're good at home. Yeah, congratulations, cool.
You know what
Um,
it seems like? When there's an excuse to not win,
Mhm.
whoops,
Oh yeah,
they just don't. So maybe get rid of the excuses.
Yes,
And
you
then
tell them.
you might play better footy.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, you also have to grow up, Dimmer. You also said that you don't like Marvel Stadium because there's no soul to this
But
place.
there's
Right.
no soul to that place.
There is soul.
There
Mate.
is for your little Essendon games,
It's
your little
haunting
medium
St
clubs and
Kilda.
whatever. No problems. But us big MCG club teams, yeah, there's no soul for us
Yeah.
there.
I like Marvel Stadium.
So
And
I
by
hate
the way,
place.
props to North. I thought they played an excellent game. I think they have a beautiful, bright future.
they do.
And I'm going to go ahead and say a shining light to the North Melbourne team this season for me has been Paul Curtis.
He's been great.
He has
been
been
really good.
absolutely great. And
Yep.
everyone talks about Sheasel and he's good. Everyone talks about LDU and he's good.
He's
but
very good.
Paul Curtis,
That was almost goal of the
really
year.
shining star.
Did you see LDU's almost goal of
Oh,
the
yeah.
year?
I
If he
did.
kicked that goal, then we've been talking about LDU all
It's
day.
true.
But you're right, Paul Curtis is one that goes under the radar
He does,
a
and
lot.
So good.
He's very good.
So good.
Overhead, he's hard to tackle. He keeps his composure inside forward 50 when a lot of people will just blaze away. 100%. They've got a lot of great young pieces over there at North Melbourne. And Lee Montagna said over the week, during the week, that he predicts that North Melbourne will never be bottom of the ladder for the next 10
heard
years.
that. Yeah, but Joey, I don't know.
That's all right. They've got Richmond now. Richmond will take that number one at the bottom of the ladder
For
Potentially.
2 years. And
for
then,
2
At
years.
least you're
then it'll be
admitting
West
it.
Coast. Watch what, like, mate.
No,
Oh.
West Coast won't be bottom in 2 years.
Yeah, no, mate, they've got a lot worse to come.
No,
think.
West Coast won't be bottom.
I think
They'll
West
start
Coast
trading
is-
players
Speaking
away.
I think West
falling
Coast are the
off.
worst informed side in the comp at the minute.
Yeah.
Like they're just
What happens when they start losing those older players, mate? They're trash,
Mm.
mate.
Sorry. What was
But
that?
I was saying, speaking of falling off, how did everyone feel about the Carlton Giants game?
Oh.
Do we feel like Carlton?
Well, I was
has
flicking
fallen
through
off?
both because obviously I was watching Richmond, but yeah, I like flicked off because it was quarter time, and I think the Blues were up by like 39 points, something like that.
Mm.
And of
Mhm.
course, flicked back at the
a
quarter
good
time of the
game.
Freo Richmond game. I was like, what the hell's happening
It
here?
was a very good game. It was everything that we knew and loved about the Giants all coming out against a really strong opposition in Carlton on the weekend. It's the team that you know that the Giants can play like, but they just haven't given it as much as they did early in the season when they were bullying up on a weaker fixture.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, yes, this is the reason why you guys were premiership favorites so early in the season.
They did this last year, Joe. They came home on a run.
Yeah, 100%.
I have a
100%.
theory about teams that I have a theory about winning all the games.
Yeah.
I just think it's not good when your team is just winning every single game every
Yep.
week.
Correct.
I think you die out pretty quick.
Yep.
I think it's not a good sign for finals. So it's kind of healthy that everybody's losing a bit,
Yes,
I think.
correct. Like
Just-
even the Swans,
Yeah, well,
like not everyone
And
can
then
be
the other thing, the
2,000
Swans are only,
Essendon.
they're only losing by a couple of points too.
that's
Like they're still in games, and it's probably the kick in the ass that they need.
the Swans.
Yeah,
I think
And,
also though,
they can because you learn more from your losses than you do your wins.
I guess, but you just don't want to be gassed when you get to finals.
No,
Like,
that too.
Save it, don't just blow your
Well,
load.
Sydney have got
during
the-
during the
Sydney-
season. Melbourne
good thing
does
ab-
it all the time.
The good thing about them, they had that buffer.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't really matter. A couple of losses, they can still rotate some players, whatever, get themselves ready to go for finals. So they're still my pick. I think it's the Swans. Well, potentially
Swans who?
Swan. You know what? I really want to
Yeah,
say
we know.
Freo,
Bombers.
but I'm going to say Swans Carlton.
Bombers.
Really?
Bombers.
Straight sets, Joe.
Bombers. Oh, wait, you have us finishing top 4?
Yeah, I think fourth.
Oh, get around us.
Hmm.
Joe,
Get
can I
around
ask
us.
you a question?
Of course you can.
Oh,
You know,
just kidding.
oh, sorry,
fine.
Yes,
Sorry,
me
yeah.
first.
Joe,
Just
this is
kidding.
this is Steve, Joe.
Hi,
Yes.
Steve.
Yeah, so I saw this clip on the Footy of Broden podcast, and Marnie Vinyl was bringing up this, and I thought I'd ask an Essendon supporter.
Sure.
All right, so would you rather, as an Essendon supporter, because you all know probably all you care about at the minute is winning a final,
Correct.
would you rather finish fourth, where you have to play first, and then, if you end up
So we
losing,
play the Swans, yeah.
yeah, so you play the Swans,
Yep.
and then you have to play. Who would it be?
The winner of
who
the
would it
Bri-
be if you're fourth?
Could be a
fifth.
fifth.
I don't know. It could be
Brisbane.
Geelong, Brisbane,
Yeah, one of them.
that sort of thing. Or would you rather finish fifth and then you're playing eighth place, and that gives you a really nice chance to win a final? Where would you rather
That's a great
finish?
question.
Who would 8th be at that point?
Well, who
Could
is
be
it?
anyone at the moment.
It'd be like
I'll finish
kidding.
5th. I'm going to finish
I'm
5th
kidding.
then.
Nah, joke.
I'm kidding. It's not
it'd be
Port,
like
a Giant,
Port
someone
at the
like that.
G.
Ugh.
Port at the G. We can
That's
beat Port at the
easy.
G.
Yeah. So would you rather finish 4th or 5th?
No, I want to finish 4th.
You want to finish 4th?
I want us, because if we finish 4th, means holy crap, we've done something I've never seen in my supporting lifetime. Like, since I've started supporting the Bombers since 2006, we've never finished top 4. So if we're finishing top 4, it means we've won a lot of games this year, and that wouldn't be fluke. If we're finishing top 4, when we're facing Brisbane at the Gabba in the last round, the week before that, we're playing the Swans at Marvel. And yet we're still finishing top 4, that means that we're ending the season.
You're getting a
with
double
good form.
chance.
We're getting a double chance, and I wouldn't be afraid of the Swans.
Yeah,
As-
Joe,
as
I
crazy
agree. I
as
think
that
the
is.
4th is better for you because against the Swans, you got a free hit.
Yeah.
Nothing to lose. You know you're still playing
Exactly.
next week.
Yeah.
It could be very dangerous. If you win, you get in the home prelim. The problem is the flip side. If you lose, the pressure on you is going to be like when the Tigers was those 3 years in a
The
row. where we-
pressure would
where
be
that
higher.
It's going to
in
be
that sense.
huge. Like you guys first thing at Geelong
Yeah.
or a Lions that second week semi, I would think you guys get done pretty badly. And that because, but I would rather have the free hit to potentially get into a prelim and a home.
The
prelim.
players themselves, though, won't be the ones, I think, under that immense
they
pressure.
will be, mate. The second
I-
week, if
honestly,
they lose
I
first
think
week,
it's
they will
us.
be.
I think it's the fans that are going to be with their hearts in their mouths more than anything. These players, Nick Martin's been around for a couple of years. It's not his fault that we have
No,
that we
I
have
know.
the drought. Like all of these players, like I don't know. I just feel like the players, if we can get to that point,
Yeah.
the players will
you-
have
you want
learned
it.
enough along the way to. I feel like we can win a final. If we finish top 4, I can see us winning a final.
You know what's awesome about
Thank
the
you for
sport?
answering.
Once you get to finals, it's like a whole.
Correct.
Yep.
It's like all 8 new teams.
The vibe's
Like
so
you just
fun.
have
It is.
no
Yeah.
idea what to expect.
Yeah.
You have no idea who's going to win. I think it's awesome. So it's really hard to say whether you'd want to finish 4th or 5th or 8th
Mm.
because everything depends on that dynamic once the final starts. So
Yes.
I don't know. Just take what you can get.
Yeah,
100%.
Run with it.
The one real interesting kind of stat out there. Most I think it's something like 40 odd % since we've had sort of this AFL era that one of the non-Victorian teams makes it, which makes sense because there's a couple more Victorian teams.
Yep.
So you'd expect that to probably be the Swans.
Uh,
But of
yeah.
the Victorian teams that make it, majority of the time, and it's something like 80, 90% is a MCG based team. Hawthorn,
Yeah.
Richmond, and
It seems to be like
Geelong,
that, yes.
or Geelong because of that home ground sort of
Exactly.
advantage they
Yeah.
play. But Collingwood, we haven't had Essendon. St Kilda's made a couple appearances, but no North Melbourne.
St
Bulldogs have made one, but was that two if you can cloud the year they were in Perth?
Are you
but it's
suggesting
been-
Marvel's curse?
The Marvel teams, because they're so
Well, they
used to
just played
playing on
less
there,
games at the
they
G.
played less games at the G, and then you come into a big match like that against a team that also hasn't played many games at the G. It's obviously harder because the dimensions are different.
Mm.
The Bombers obviously
We
have
play
quite
a few.
You play a
still.
few.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a
But compared
mixture,
to say
yes.
like a Collingwood or even a Geelong, they seem to adapt obviously better. So that's going to be the hard thing for an Essendon or a Carlton to get over that sort of hoodoo that's been in the system for such a
Also,
long time.
I think that
Fun-
sounds like excuses.
Yeah,
Fun
I think if
fact
you
is-
ask Collingwood this week who played the MCG better on the
Yeah,
weekend,
yeah,
I think
but-
they'll say we played
Yes,
as
but
well.
I think if you're talking about on what finals and Collingwood, they'll come off playing 14, 15 games at the G this year. They'll be more ready and adapted for that
I don't
ground.
know.
than-
I think there's a lot more to
You
go
guys,
to it than the
the
ground.
Swans might actually lose their first final.
That
We don't
could
even
happen.
know.
Yeah, it could.
Yeah.
Can I bring this up, this little weird quirk as well? Since
Mhm.
2006, every 6 years, there has been an interstate side has won the grand final.
Yes.
So a
Mm.
team outside of Victoria. 06 was West Coast.
Yep.
12 was Sydney. 18 was West Coast. 24.
That's either Sydney or
Sydney are
Fremantle.
looking good.
Mhm.
West Coast Sydney, West Coast Sydney.
I'd love it to be
And
Fremantle, but I
and
think
then-
you're on to something.
6 years ago. And here's
Yeah.
another interesting quirk thing I'm going to bring up. And this will really excite you, Joe.
Oh,
So 6 years prior to 2006, who won the flag?
in the 6 years prior to 2006.
Who won the flag in
So
2000?
in 2000, that would be
Yes.
us.
Think- oh,
That'd
was
be
it
you.
guys?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm
So
thinking 2009.
that was the last team, last Victorian side. Every 6 years, that has won a flag. You could 2024 be the year where you break the interstate every 6 year Does that make any sense?
I love
Stevo,
it.
you've
I love it.
completely-
But I love it. But I like the
I'm
Sydney
lost,
West Coast.
man.
Oh, the
I'm
West
lost.
Coast Sydney, West Coast Sydney.
I'll try to.
That's great.
I'll try
No,
to.
no, no.
Patterns where they don't
Yeah.
exist.
Exactly.
Mate, I like
that's,
this.
That's classic.
I'm all about this.
That's
West Coast
classic
Sydney, West
human
Coast.
behavior.
Do you get it?
What I get is we're always trying to find new ways and new stories to try and hype something up. I think the season already.
No,
is
no,
full
no,
of
Joe,
a lot of
Joe,
hype.
just a
Joe, no,
quirk.
Joe. He's telling us to put the house on Sydney. Gamble responsibly, but Ladbrokes,
Sydney
let's get on
or
there.
Essendon?
If you haven't seen that Ladbrokes ad, by the way,
I have
our
actually
superstar,
seen
you
Nobody
haven't seen it?
thinks Geelong,
You're pretty
eh?
good in it, mate.
that.
No one's thinking Geelong's gonna.
Geelong could. Like, there's no, you
They
can't
could.
discount them.
They could.
There's actually, it's actually, I feel like it's pretty open who, I still think if Sydney get the home match, which they should, like finish top, home, qualifying final, home prelim, they should win both of them into a grand final.
They
It's just more the question on the other
Yeah,
side.
because of the SCG.
Yeah.
They know that ground. That ground's unique to any other ground in the
But if
AFL.
they play Fremantle will beat them. If
Awesome.
they play the Giants there,
Yeah.
the Giants will beat them.
Yeah.
They pick
Oh,
Collingwood.
no.
Collingwood
Sydney have got
will
the
beat
Giants
them.
wood at the moment. The Giants are going to water every time they play Sydney.
Sydney are in big strife if they have to play Richmond at the G.
Oh, I
Grand
know,
Finals.
mate. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, they're not playing Richmond there.
Mate, how many
Oh, what?
supplements, sagas would we need for that?
Well, don't bring that up again. Bloody hell. Supplement saga.
So
Oh,
moving
no.
on, Joe.
Moving on. Yeah, moving on. I don't even know where we are,
Thank
mate.
you.
You've absolutely you've absolutely
you now.
rocketed through
I've got
so
ya.
many of these. No, look, I
What
think
was one
I
of
think
my
there's, talking about all these different matchups in relation to who's going to play in the finals. Obviously some pretty big names. You haven't really mentioned Melbourne, for example,
Yeah.
as a potential team that's going to. Are we really writing Melbourne off, you
Yes.
reckon? Because Gawn's
Very happy to.
been said that he's going to be out for 2 to 3,
Mm.
but Gawn is going to go against medical advice and try and come back as soon as next week after the Essendon game. Petrarca,
Mhm.
he tried to play on the field without, contrary to medical advice, he's got a punctured lung. Last year, Clayton Oliver also was having a fight with the medical staff over there. We saw the footage of them fighting. What is I feel like there's a lot of issues at Melbourne, and now I can't see them making finals.
Can we
We've said
circle
this for a
back
while.
to, is there a cultural problem
Yeah,
at
exactly.
Melbourne Football
Yeah,
Who would
Club?
have thought?
And does it have something to do with the medical staff? It sounds a lot like that's just a nice, easy out.
Yep.
Or like a nice way to manage the team without really managing the team. And maybe something needs to be done there because
Do you reckon the medical staff just aren't being strict enough to the Melbourne players to
Right.
go, no, you aren't coming back on? Or is it just this star power because Clayton Oliver's a star, Christian Petrarca's a star, Max Gawn's a star, where they'll just go, all right, you know your own body, we want you back on the field, that sort of thing.
Well, how often, Steve, do you just watch like these concussion tests, for example? When
Yeah.
like the Jeremy Cameron one, where that was the obvious, was it 2 or 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, and it was
when
like,
when a medical staff has to run out to
Yeah.
the main man or one of the
Yeah.
big players in the team,
Yeah.
it always seems like they seem to stay on.
And then
Where
the
if you
list
get-
cloggers,
yeah,
nut
that's
you
right,
straight
bang,
off.
straight off, no questions.
Sub immediately.
And yeah, because
Yeah.
those players would know if they are defiant, they might not be playing next week.
Yeah.
Out the side, they can be dropped.
Yeah, you've played
Where-
22 games in 6
You know,
years.
if you're Max Gawn or whoever, like a big name, it could be Bont, for example. It wouldn't make a difference.
Yeah.
He knows he ain't getting dropped.
doesn't matter
So-
to me though. It looks to me like Melbourne have a cultural problem
and it probably
where
is
the
a little bit
players
more of
are
that.
being coddled, and
Mm.
it's even happening with
Or
the medical staff.
Is
Yeah.
it just a case of because they're the ones that have been involved in more incidents? Because we have seen this with other clubs. It's just been one star where Melbourne have had 3 or 4 of their main stars
That's
involved in it. So,
Culture.
yeah, it could be cultural. Or it could just be a coincidence that they've had the more stars. And
I don't think
star
it's coincidence.
Star players don't come off of these things. If the game is on the line, they want to stay on and win the game.
I think they're being coddled.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah,
I
you,
think
you're
it's
not the
star players.
boss,
Yes.
okay, Melbourne. You're not
Yes.
the boss. You need a bigger boss.
Correct.
So maybe that's why. I don't know, totally off them though. They might win a few. I don't know. They might be a dangerous team to play still, but they're probably not going to get to where they really want to go
Correct.
because no one is leading the train. It's
No.
except maybe a couple of players. And
Especially without Gawn in the team. Like
Yeah.
it's it's hard to see how Melbourne straighten up from here on out. You
Yeah,
know, like
Oliver out of form, Gorn out, Petrarca
No
out.
Petrarca.
exactly.
Well, I can't even work out who rucks for them this week.
I guess
Be
we'll find out.
Fullerton from
Ooh.
their Brisbane
is he
recruit.
Guys
fit?
are playing now?
Yeah, he's fit
you
now.
saw
Fit
that.
now?
You have a pretty good
It's a big
schedule.
ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are quite lucky because we got Melbourne this week with no
Yeah.
Gorn. We've got Adelaide next week with no Rankin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's pretty good. We played against the Harley Reidless West Coast the other week at Marvel. We did play them when they did have Harley Reid earlier in the season over there. We played again, and we also have played against Adelaide with Rankin in the side. So it's not like it's been a complete easy ride. We have played against these teams at full strength, but now sometimes you do need a bit of luck. Sometimes, luck is a skill in terms of having all of your players available. You don't want to be a team that's starting to get even more injuries at the moment, like with Melbourne, for example. Collingwood's had problems with injuries. Richmond, obviously, well documented all of their injuries this year. The Fraud Coast Suns, they haven't got any injuries that I can.
You're not trying hard
care
enough.
about. So yeah, just grow up. And I love bagging on the Gold Coast, and I always will. And yeah, they've got no reason to miss the 8, really.
Well, no. I mean, if you haven't pulled a hammy, are you trying hard enough is the question.
Exactly, 100%.
I don't think you are.
I don't think they are.
No?
I think the Pies are trying, but again, a lot of injuries, a lot of complacency in relation to how they go about playing the game.
It's got to be hard if you just got a flag to go back to work the next day.
Yep.
It's hard.
The second one is always the hardest one. That's for that very reason.
Mm-hmm.
And you
Very
can
tough.
see, and you can see, I don't think they have a lot of players that necessarily want to drive a lot of high standards. They might seem a bit, oh wow, looking at it in hindsight now when they've got Pendles and Dacos and Quaynor, but I don't know, someone like a DeGoey, someone who you're going to see in the off season busting his butt to be ready to go around next year round. You know what I mean? To try and win the flag. I just don't see it. And he hasn't really been, even, of course, injury aside, he hasn't been taking the game on like he did previously.
I have to say, I went to their practice match earlier, like in the beginning of the season, their gold, I think it's called the Gold Rush.
Was it against North Melbourne?
No, they play themselves.
Oh, an intra-club.
Intra-club match.
Club match. And it was actually quite fun to watch because they were having fun but doing really cool stuff on the field. And I think that they're just still feeling like they want to enjoy the football this season. And maybe they just don't feel like they have anything they need to prove so badly.
Right.
I don't know. I think that's bound to happen.
Do you reckon it's just got something to do with the conditioning as well? Because we saw this last year with Geelong. They copped a lot of injuries as well, where maybe sides, and full credit to them, as they should, celebrate for a fair while with the flag.
Yeah.
But then do you come back, a little bit lackadaisical? I'll miss this training session. We won the flag. Who cares? We're the best team in the comp, and we will be until the new premier. So I'm just wondering if maybe it's got something to do with just the conditioning, because
I think Geelong
seeing
are
the
different,
injuries.
though. Not to be a jerk, but they're kind of old. I
Yes,
think their
yes,
injuries
that's-
are from
that
from their
included.
age.
But if you're not conditioned fully as an older side, and I think Collingwood aren't.
They are an
older side.
Pendlebury, side bum.
Where if
I like calling
if
side bums.
preparation isn't at 100% with these older blokes, then things are going to lead to certain injuries.
And other teams are always going to come after the premiers. It's hard to win back-to-back, mate.
Yeah, and
Well, we don't know that.
There's
but
going to be
easy
there's
for
sides
us.
in pre-season that start 6 weeks before the premiers do. So it's like 6 weeks of extra building for the next season.
Joe,
So-
back-to-back means when you win a premiership and then you win it again the following year.
Is that supposed to be some snide Richmond comment?
Yeah, I know, mate. You're gonna have back-to-back wooden spoons, so I'm not entirely sure. All right, so I'm glad you know your lesson and what you have coming
Yes,
up,
that's
mate.
how math works.
Just bring it to the next podcast.
Yeah,
So
exactly. I'll bring a wooden spoon for you. This is a taste of what's to come. I guess, speaking of a taste of what's to come and, back-to-back, Gawn's had a lot of success and has been an All-Australian captain a number of times. He's been the All-Australian ruckman. This ruck line this year has been really exciting. There's been some really prominent ruckmen now putting their hand up saying, hey, no, I want to be the All-Australian ruck, especially now that Gorm the last couple of weeks has slowed down. He's now going to be missing at least one game. You had Tom DeConning explode onto the scene. Rowan Marshall continues to do Rowan Marshall things.
Doesn't get the credit.
Doesn't get the credit. Tristan Sherry over
I
at
was
North
going to say,
Melbourne.
doesn't get the credit either.
Grundy at his new team.
Pay attention, guys.
I know. Tell
Yeah.
him.
Nank the
Pay
Tank.
attention.
Nank the Tank is not
I
going.
mean, who is?
But he's
who is-
second in
He's been good.
Supercoach
Who is
right now.
getting
It's
like
unreal.
real respect outside of Grundy, who I think has been okay, but actually maybe slightly overrated this season so far. Outside of Grundy, gone. Who is the top? I mean, who is everyone talking about?
Well, everyone's talking about TDK from Carlton.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, but-
I really like Cherry.
Cherry
I
is
know,
number
no.
5, I think, for
Guys,
tackles
mate, he's,
in the entire
he's-
comp.
I think it's
everyone talks
great.
about obviously Sheasel and Wardlaw and LDU and that, but now the decision to let Goldie go and try to chase some success with the Bombers, who's doing very well and helping also coach off the field and on the
Correct.
field. But I think the opportunity they've given Cherry to blossom and I guess it's always hard to get that dynamic and relationship with your midfield. The best rucks obviously develop it.
Correct.
And he definitely has very quickly with those young
Yeah,
mids.
and as well, I'll give a bit of credit to Clarkson here. He's copped a lot since being at North Melbourne. I remember, I think in his first pre-season, he said, we see Sherry as our number one ruck. So this was a pre-season before a pre-season where he exploded. So Clarkson's eye for talent, we saw him with Ben McAvoy, that sort of type. So he can see a ruck when he sees it.
He was benching Goldstein and putting Sherry
well, he
in the
gave
game.
Goldstein the arse
Yeah,
because he was
that's
like,
right.
no, Cherry's our ruck of the future. And
I love Clarko.
yeah.
He has a foul mouth, but I enjoy that. And I actually was saying I saw him at the pub a few weeks ago and I got so
Who?
excited I couldn't even
Clarko.
speak.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I said nothing though. I
Yeah,
just had
because if he
nothing to say.
swears at you, all
no,
of a sudden the
I would
AFL.
feel like a badge of honor if he swear at me.
No, the AFL would come out and sanction him and say, "Get back in your box." Literally, get back in the box.
I
Do you
tell
reckon
no one.
Clarko would get sanctioned if he did what Dimmer did?
Of course he would.
Yeah.
100% he would.
For sure.
The
Yeah.
AFL can't sanction the Gold Coast Suns because the AFL own the Gold
Yeah,
Coast
yeah.
They're
Suns.
finding themselves, basically.
Yeah, exactly. They'll be saying, that's literally
finding
what I said,
themselves.
but
That's
sure.
our reserve team you're talking about there. You leave them alone.
Your
Yeah.
reserve team?
Yeah.
Your reserve team?
Yeah.
Or is it the
Tassie.
Geelong's
They've got a-
reserve
Mate,
team?
Tassie.
No, Gold Coast. We've sent them our coach. We've sent them Brandon Ellis. We've had-
Dusty's going to follow the trail.
and all their senior
Maybe.
players we take. Your caddies, Lynches, Prestiers. I know Caddy came through Geelong.
What do
Dusty's
they get?
going up
Corey
there.
Ellis?
And, what do you think?
They got Chol and Corey Ellis, and Chol's now a good player.
Is
of course.
Dusty going to go up there? I don't think Dusty's
Nah, mate,
going to
no.
go up
I
there.
don't think so either, but the commentary is pretty assertive.
No, I think I
They're
actually said this. Someone
forcing
asked
it
me the
a
other
bit.
day. He is definitely going to the Gold Coast next year.
But
he's not going as a footballer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
He's
Maybe
going
the
to live
coach.
there.
Yeah, that's right.
Nah, he's going for
and
a
that'll
good
be
time.
Dave,
A
was
good
it Neats or Swore, whoever
Oh, we
came out
can.
with it and saying, "Yeah, guaranteed," and that'll be the get out for the media. They'll be going, "Yeah, we told you he's going to live up there. We
Yep.
didn't say anything about playing."
You think?
Yeah,
You keep
100%.
talking.
He'll have an apartment or
just
He's going
something
to
up there.
retire. Are you checking up on
Yeah,
Heaney?
you guys keep talking.
I was actually looking for the Heaney update too,
Yeah.
so
No,
I think they're
the
deliberating.
tribunal is still waiting
deliberating?
up.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
As of
Just-
5 minutes ago.
Come on.
Told you, we'll be in on
Just,
Thursday.
we know
and,
Cripper's
like,
getting the Brownlow.
Yeah.
Enough.
Is it?
$3.50
Is it
right now,
Cripps?
mate.
I think so. He's leading.
Yeah,
Look,
3.
Unless he gets a suspension.
Look, Cripps has been good. Don't get me wrong. I feel like he's been better this year than when he actually won the Brownlow.
Mhm.
It's crazy enough, but
Yeah, he's been amazing.
he's been great. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's leading or if he's up there.
leading.
Wouldn't be surprised if Nick Dacos is up there.
He's up there.
He always finds a way to.
Lockie Neal, mate. That's the Smoky who shouldn't be really a Smoky, but no one's talking about Lockie.
I think there's a clear top four
He's in
in
the top
terms of.
five.
Yeah,
I think there's
But no
just a
one's
clear top
talking about him
four on
compared to
who's
the
going to
others.
win it. I think there's Bont, Merritt, Dacos, and Cripps. If Heaney gets off, maybe he's 5, but I don't know if he's going to win it anyway. Heaney, he's off to a great start,
Yeah.
but he's
Yeah.
after
Then Chad,
about round 8, it's just You bring in Chad Warner, who's going to take a few votes, and
Errol Gould.
Errol Gould, and
I think
all
Errol's
these.
lead. Is he above Heaney in the votes for
Sorry?
Brownlow? Goulden. Do you have more votes than Heaney?
I wouldn't say so.
I wouldn't say so just yet, but the way it's
He's getting
going,
up
but
there.
he would
You
be
never
getting
know.
up there. So they're going to both be eating into each other's. And that's why Cripps doesn't
yeah.
really have as many, like, because I don't think anyone else outside of him, Walsh hasn't been too dominant in most games this year.
Nah.
And Hewitt, again, is just almost like a really good, solid role player for them. So Cripps would be getting a lot. I think Merritt early on would be getting a lot for us as well.
Merritt's not getting
but the last
a lot
few
stolen
weeks
off him. That's the
Caldwell might be taking some off
Caldwell
him.
and Durham are probably his main threats, but
probably not.
Dacos, really no one.
Yeah, no one for Dacos.
No one
But-
because of all the injuries. You look at Bont.
He's
Livers
got
had a
Trelaw.
down-
Livers, but
Trelaw.
Trelaw has been
Trelaw's
fantastic.
doing
I was
really
gonna say,
well.
like, Livers
He's
had
been
a down year.
super. And
Yeah.
they've also had English dominate.
Richards.
And English does dominate some games. He
Yeah,
stands out.
correct.
So I think the Doggies
Yeah,
have
I
a
forgot
few
about-
that you forget about them. Yeah.
Whereas
Where-
in Brisbane,
I can't
Brisbane,
help
it's
respect.
Brisbane. It's the same 2 each week. It's Neil gets the 3,
Yeah.
Dunkley gets the 2.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what it is.
Nobody
Mm.
else is taking votes off them.
But I think Lucky Neil had his Brownlow, and I think it's time to move on.
that came as a shock, though.
You know?
Like,
Yeah,
even
it
he
did.
didn't see it coming.
That's right. And I think it was because he had better seasons. But sometimes I think that's how it goes. So like, oh, we didn't really pay
Well,
you
you-
last season. It's kind of like the Academy Awards. We should have given it to you for this
Usually-
movie,
Yeah.
but we're giving
Right.
Usually once a
Jesus.
decade, there is a shock winner.
it to you.
Like I think in the mid 2010s, we saw, I guess, who was it? It was Matty Prittis.
Yeah,
But we didn't include it.
It is the umpires
White
that
Woden-
decide
White
this,
Woden will be the most
correct?
famous
Woden,
one.
It is
Lachie
the
Neale.
umpires that decide the Brownlow.
It is the umpires.
So it's only going to be the quality of the umpires to pick the right guy.
I don't.
So I
Well,
don't know how much
Razor Ray,
faith I have
Razor
in
Ray was talking about this the other
them.
day
Ugh,
and
yeah.
saying that it's actually really interesting to listen to him now that he's he's not umpiring and just
Right.
some of the stories.
It's not
So
inciting
they
anger.
because they're mic'd up throughout the whole game. And even in the change rooms, they can't actually talk about it. So it's literally they come off, write a couple notes to each other. But there's always 2 umpires around the ball. So who are they all recognising? It's those ball winners, inside midfielders. And then you might get the random one. But yeah, they've quarter time or half time, they'll write down some notes and then they come and compare it afterwards. And if you've got a 4-quarter consistent player who they've wrote down at quarter time and half time, obviously they're going to stand out. Joe is jumping at the bits for some news here.
David Zeta, you do the God's work, mate. Isaac Heaney's suspension has been upheld.
Well,
You're
he
welcome,
will-
North Melbourne. We took him out.
He will miss this week's game against North Melbourne and is ineligible for the 2024
Clearly,
Brownlow medal.
Clearly was not winning. Was not
Yeah.
winning.
Yeah, I think if he was in the running, if he
Yes.
really thought so,
The
he would
almond
have let him
band.
go.
Yes, please.
Well, Butters got away with one earlier in the year, didn't he?
Yeah, but he's
Yeah,
Oh,
a bit underperforming, eh?
he didn't even mention Zach Butters.
No.
Because there was no Rosie, for a
Rosie.
few weeks. So in
Right.
those weeks, Butters might have gotten some votes.
but it's the same
Well,
with
he
like
did
Sarong with
though.
Freo when they were like winning games. I think it'll be a close call this
Yeah.
year. Like you've got to obviously be in a team that's at least around the mark for the 8. Like obviously like Wines was, or in the 8 because you got to win enough games to get enough of those 3 votes. So and it is quite an even year with like the ladder when you
It
kind of
is.
think about it. But yeah, what is
love
it
it.
like? Carlton at the moment's got 11. Freo got 10 wins. So somebody's got to get them. Like
Are they getting any
Sarong's going to be
votes?
out of 9 for people.
They share the love. They
but
share
they
the
do.
love.
But they probably got a
Sarong,
few. Yeah.
Brayshaw, Young. They share the votes.
No outstander.
Yeah, they really are a collective unit, and those are the best teams. The best teams are the ones that have the unit. And
Are they making the 8? Are they going to stay in there?
Freo, yeah, for
I
sure.
think so.
I think so. Yeah,
Top
Freo. I had them top 4 when I did our ladder predictor here. I had Melbourne in there, but Melbourne have got egg all over my face now. Stuff
Joey
you, Simon
also
Goodwin.
said that they were going to be the team to beat this season. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
About
In the
Freo?
oh, no, Melbourne.
Oh,
The
Melbourne.
beginning of the year.
I
he was
think
really on there.
Freo deserve a bit of credit as well because
They do.
they copped a lot of backlash for re-signing Longmuir
For
for
1
another year. Just to Longmuir, not Longmire. Don't worry. Justin Longmuir to a 1-year extension. There was a bit of backlash about are you going to re-sign a coach before the season started. They sort of said, to get the pressure eased off him and he can just sort of relax for this season. And it's clearly worked out. So they copped a bit of backlash for it, but I think they deserve credit for making a good decision there.
Sometimes I feel like pundits blow smoke where it doesn't really belong. Like,
Yep.
just because your team loses or the team you thought would win loses one weekend doesn't mean that anything is wrong. Doesn't
Correct.
mean there's trouble. Doesn't mean you've fallen off. It's the nature of the sport. Sometimes
it means the world's over.
Don't tell a journalist that.
Like, even
The world has
kidding.
ended.
I mean, Port's still in the 8.
Yeah.
But like, they're talking
Their next
about
loss,
knocking on
when's Hinkley going?
Trump winning the election isn't even as bad as your team losing
my
a
God.
week.
We said we wouldn't
don't talk
mention this,
about
mate.
There is a classic saying. I heard it personally in a football setting that nothing is ever as bad as it seems, and nothing is ever as good as it seems. So, despite how bad this podcast might look, don't worry, it ain't that bad. Right? But yeah, like or as good, as good as it seems. So,
Thank you.
I think it's great.
I think it's great. Excellent.
Great.
Good. I'm glad. So
Thank God he said the second part.
No, thank God I said the second part, right? Because the journos, their whole job is to incite those feelings, is to get people clicking on their stuff, is to try and put pressure. And, Adam Simpson himself in his press conference on his way out, he told the journos that you guys have to be better. We are human beings, and you guys can be absolutely terrible with what you say about us. You put us under immense pressure, even more so than we otherwise already would be under. You want to have more access to the players. We'll treat them better. And then the players will actually want to speak to you. There's a reason why you have a bunch of players like Dusty, who we were talking about before, who just refuses to do media because you can't help but feel cynical that any time you're going to say something, it's going to be misconstrued, and you can't even say it's innocent. It's very likely going to be deliberate,
right?
In order to incite more views.
Can sound like a problem when it's not, because it becomes a talking point, and then everybody's talking, and then all the other more important things go missing because everybody's talking about the one stupid thing that happened on the weekend. You know,
But
I think that happens all the time.
But it's the whole, as you said, the whole clicks in the media landscape. Like we come on here and probably more agree with each other. You look at the major media, the most followed people right now is like Kane Corns.
Yes,
We talked about it off air, like Sam McClure, not getting a lot of love from this panel. But is that genuinely him, or does he just says that because otherwise, why would people pay attention to him? But we could come on and sit there and say Nick Dacos is the shittest footballer ever. We could sit there and say, the Bomber, or we could just say things which would
the
get
Bombers
people.
live rent-free in your head,
if I say that, that's going to stir up a Collingwood base. Like you cut that. Our producer Dave cuts that, puts it out there. Collingwood supporters will be like in their droves having a crack at me. How he's this, he's that. Defending him. But that's, all of a sudden we're getting a lot more clicks than we would be going instead of saying, we really rate Nick Dacos. We like watching Collingwood. He's a very good player because everyone's like, well, yeah, of course. So why do I need to tune in for that? And then you even get like the local media, like everybody talks about Scoops out there, with his, Cooper, with his Saints podcasts. And everybody more follows that just to argue the point because of like what he puts out. Now he gets a lot of clicks because it's controversial. And then, as you were saying, about the coach or a player, the moment they say anything which is out of line, that's an opportunity for the media to even, put lights around that and get focus on that.
And I just think there's a difference between a controversial opinion that's merited because it's interesting and one that's just stupid and doesn't make any sense and has no substance to it at all.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think we know the worst offenders of this, right? It's going to be a little bit of Kane Corn, a little bit of Cara Wilson.
Yeah.
Just saying things that are inappropriate or don't belong in the conversation just because they don't belong there.
Correct.
Instead
there's so many media as well. Like we do this, obviously, people get on with each other, want to talk footy. We love catching up with each other. And for our fans out there,
speak for yourself.
Speak for it. Yeah.
Love it, Steve. Love it.
There's a lot of journos. I mean, they're doing it because it's their job. Now, if they're not getting the followers and the clicks, their employer's getting rid of them. So they've got to come up with ways to potentially stretch whatever things are out there to get their focus on them.
I think you just need to be intelligent, and some of them aren't.
Yeah,
Like,
but
that's it.
then you
Sam
have to,
McClure, number
Yeah.
one.
But-
What's he saying about Harvey Reid? That West Coast is not picking Harvey Reid. Like,
yeah.
are you the
West Coast
biggest
aren't gonna
moron?
pick
But now you're like focusing on that because he said something like, and it's you sit there and go, yeah, you'd rather intelligent conversations. But they're like, what's the highest rating show? So it's like, your maths and,
It's not Sam
and all that
McClure.
sort of stuff.
It's not Sam
Yeah,
McClure's
but
show.
people, it's
Sam McClure's show
trash
ranked
TV.
number one.
So who are the biggest, like the most focused journalists? It's the ones that talk trash.
I want Cal Toomey all the time.
Kel Toomey's great.
I love
and
Kel.
except for he needs to be more fan friendly.
Lee
So I'll give
Montagna.
Riley Beveridge a better shout out.
Lee.
Yeah, no, but Sam McClure says some really ridiculous things. And he was on, I saw this interview on Facebook. They had released a clip of Dave Barham, president of the Bombers, sitting in the SEN, I think it was box. He had him sitting on the floor for an interview. This is a president of a club. They've sat him on the floor.
Really?
And
I haven't seen that.
And Sam McClure is drilling him about why should Essendon fans believe that this is any different.
Next time I see
and-
Sam McClure in the tavern, I'm going to
This
drill
is the
him.
kind of disrespect Saints get all the time. So,
So
I
bad.
understand.
Dave, you're going to come follow us around with a microphone to our producer and that. When we see Sam McClure, let's go and drill him. Leave a comment. What question would the viewers out there like to ask Sam McClure?
Or
you
Caroline
can't burn
Wilson.
Or
Carol.
Caroline. Or me.
Oh, no, I'm burning
What would you like
bridges
to ask me?
Or Anna Wilson.
Yes.
Anna. And that will do us here this week on the pod. Stay tuned. Head on over to watch our other video where we will go through all of the tips for this coming week. Anna from the Sainthood Love community and from the Curious
Bye.
Cocktail, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, of course. Anytime. I will be on more often, I promise.
Excellent.
I like to talk about football.
Yes, love it. Swiz, Dave Swiz, Supercoach Insiders. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks, mate. It's nice to actually have some holidays so I can come and join you guys. It's been a lot of fun.
It has been wonderful having you. Steve, SDS Supercoach, thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on again. It's always a pleasure to be on here, Joe.
I have to say, this is the closest I've sat to a Richmond supporter in a very long time. So consider yourself lucky. I haven't tried to
I feel the
shank you
sainted
yet.
love right now.
You're going to be next to him one more time for the tipping video as well. So make sure, guys, if you like what you had to hear or see from us today, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, hit that notification bell, not miss out on any of the content that we are putting out on a regular basis here. Just seeing your
Press
hand operating in the
We'll put
background.
a subscribe button here.
Subscribe.
Sorry
Ding.
to make it work a bit harder, fellas.
I love it, Steve. Honestly, never change, mate. We'll see you all on the bench in the next episode. See you guys.
Give us the
Not
finger.
the couch.
Not the couch.